Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on Midday Kentucky. When it comes to college, there's a lot to consider, like admission to financial aid. So joining us today to help make the process a little bit easier, we brought in Sean Smith of the College Project. Thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And this is an important time. A lot of kids already applied for school. What should they be considering now?
The seniors that have already applied for school, most of them are probably waiting on financial aid offers and scholarships. In many cases, it would be wise for them to follow up with their admissions counselors if they haven't heard back about acceptance, maybe submitting a first semester transcript or anything new that's happened to them positively since they submitted their application, just to hopefully strengthen that application. They should be hearing about financial aid, need-based financial aid, scholarships, that kind of stuff sometime here in the next month or two.
And as people start getting some feedback on their financial aid, if it's not quite enough, is there anything they can do?
Sometimes there is. I think it depends on the college. Some schools are more willing to negotiate with students than others, especially if there were extenuating circumstances that went unreported or they couldn't report on the financial aid forms. That would be the time to meet with financial aid at the colleges of their choice and explain the extenuating circumstances and hopefully squeeze out a few more dollars in grant money or whatever it is.
So I didn't realize that once you submit the application, you can go back and correct things that have changed. You can contact the school.
Sure, especially if you don't get the answer you're wanting. You know, if you were deferred, if you applied early but you were deferred to regular admission, that first semester was probably not taken into account because you applied early. Maybe you have a better ACT or SAT score you can update or something like that. So.
Well, you mentioned the ACT and the SAT score. Is there anything kids can do now to try to increase that a little bit?
Seniors, maybe. It depends on the colleges. You know, if they have a later deadline or a later scholarship deadline, sure, they could still update the ACT or SAT and take it here next month. Probably most seniors, no. It's probably a little bit too late for that. But juniors, definitely. All the juniors will be taking it here in the next month. So.
And as we start getting parents and kids start getting those letters of acceptance, when typically does a decision need to be made?
May 1st. May 1st is kind of a national signing date. In many cases, they'll extend it if necessary, but typically by May 1st, they're going to have all of the necessary financial aid information to make that decision, and they need to let the colleges know by then. Yeah.
And there are just so many things to consider of where do you want to go to school? What should maybe parents advise their kids on considering as they choose which college to attend?
Oh my goodness, I don't know that we have enough time, but
yeah.
Definitely, obviously academics. So
right.
You know, if they know what they want to study, what schools offer the programs, what schools have strong reputations for those programs. Cost obviously is going to come into play for most families. So what's the budget and how can we go about getting this school down to X amount of dollars? So.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the younger kids. Maybe you're a freshman or a sophomore. Is it time to start thinking about colleges, or what can you do at a younger age?
Yes.
It is.
You know, I just mentioned juniors will be taking the ACT in March. Every public school junior across the state will take the test in March. The state pays for that, so they definitely should be preparing for that if they haven't already taken the test. GPA always, from the time you walk into your first freshman year class, your GPA starts counting towards college admission. So GPA is a huge factor. Building your resume, leadership, community service, all those things will come into play or could come into play for college admissions and scholarships, and that starts the beginning of freshman year. So yeah, they should be thinking about it.
I was wondering about the extracurriculars you brought up. Is that still an important thing to have on your resume and get going early in high school?
Especially if you're applying to a selective college or if you're trying to apply for some of the top scholarships at certain schools. It absolutely is. It does come into play.
Well, really important information affecting so many of our viewers and their families out there. Do you have anywhere people can go online to check out your resources?
The College Project, ky.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. Thanks. We have all the information up on the screen. They're also on Facebook. You can see the website, and we'll post this over on our Facebook page as well so you can find the links. But stay with us. Up next, disgraced USA coach Larry Nassar learns his fate in court, plus another music icon retiring. Details coming up in your What's Poppin'.